Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday night Anamkara meditation program. And with all my heart and with all my love, I welcome you to our program tonight. Thank you for coming. Tonight is chanting night, so we're going to be doing more chants and get a chance to really get immersed in that and talk a little bit about it as well. And we're going to start off because chanting and use of mantra is so important. We start with what I call the opening mantras. These are ancient mantras. One is the Ganesh Mantras, and they're an invocation of that aspect of the infinite that is seen to help remove obstacles. And in the Hindu yogic tradition, Ganesha is a delightful figure and the elephant-faced one. And he's known as the son of Shiva and Shakti, Shiva and Uma, or Parvati. And there's a wonderful story about how Ganesh got to be the elephant-faced one. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. But it's really an invocation. These extraordinary archetypal images are really ways of helping to attune us to powers of consciousness that are inherent to our own being, our own self. So even when we're invoking Ganesh, remover of obstacles, we have to have the discrimination, we have to have the understanding to know that what we're invoking is really the power of our own sublime nature, our own consciousness, our own divinity, that helps us to remove the obstacles that are in our path and help to remove suffering in those many different ways. And the same with the mantra after the Ganesh mantras that we do to begin with. We do a set of mantras that starts with Om Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamadachute. And that's an invocation of the infinite. And it's really saying from the infinite, from the perfect, from the full, comes the infinitude of all creation. And at the same time, the infinite isn't depleted in any way. So from the infinite comes the infinite, and the infinite remains. In a similar way, it's from the infinite comes the infinite grace, right? Comes the infinite grace that's showered upon us. And that is inexhaustible. That the infinite doesn't run out of that. So from the infinite comes the infinite, and that infinite reservoir is still undiminished. So it can flow continuously to all beings. So when we're invoking with the mantras, this our highest nature, it's really helping to, both through the sound vibration, the throb of mantra, which is its essential nature, the consciousness that throbs and pulsates, and eventually takes the form of sound. That's what we're making use of then to help also shift our consciousness out of the confines of the mind. And so that for all the things that have been going on through the day and right up until this moment, we can set those aside and let this power of mantra, the power of these sacred sounds, wash through us and help to clear the mind and the body of all the things that both create suffering, but also lock our attention into some identification with one of those things, a thought, a feeling, a sensation. So we start with these opening mantras, and the opening mantras are downloadable from the Anamkara Meditation Foundation website, so that you can always have a copy or practice on your own if you like. So we're going to start with the opening mantras. So once again, with all my heart, I welcome you to this evening's program. And that stillness is really seen as the source of mantra and the fruit of mantra. Mantra emanates, in a sense, it emanates from that absolute stillness. And it emanates as a form of grace, a form of Shakti, form of the power of consciousness that reaches into the domain of the mind to create a way to come back to the truth of who we are. And so taking refuge in mantra is a way of staying really present with the infinite, with our own self, day and night, as much as we can, to keep repeating mantra over and over. So mantra of the word means that which protects. As we take refuge in it, and it protects us from all the things that the mind gets caught up in, identified with, and suffers with. So over and over, the practice is to come back to the mantra, come home to yourself, come back to the mantra, come home to yourself. And really tonight's program is a way of doing that in quite a kind of joyous way, because tonight's program focuses on a practice that's called Namasan Kirtan. And Namasan Kirtan really refers to chanting the names, Nama, of the infinite. Because by the name, the infinite is known. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says of the name that it's my form, my rupa. So the name, when you're chanting the name, and these mantras are the names of the infinite, the names of the divine, it said that you literally have the divine dancing on your tongue, throbbing throughout the body, because sound penetrates everything. My Baba used to say that the power of chants and the power of the mantra penetrates right down into the marrow of your bones, to heal, to uplift, to remove all that needs to be let go of and set free. So this practice, an ancient practice, has that power of the divine, the infinite, right in it. So that's what we take refuge in. And it's interesting because the last couple of weeks we were talking more about Advaita Vedanta and the path of a jnani, one who knows the absolute of just I am that, thou art that, tattvamasi, thou art that, I am that, hamsa. And when you read, for instance, we were doing a reading and contemplation of Dattatreya's Avadutta Gita, it's this really exalted awareness of Brahman, of the absolute, of the Godhead. And that's the infinite beyond all forms. That's beyond everything, which also makes it often way beyond the mind and what the mind can get a hold of. And so here you have this exquisite, ways of talking about that, but the mind goes, how do I get there, or what do I do? Whereas the path of the use of form and chants and mantras is right in the domain where the mind can start to take a hold of a form that, as it takes a hold of it, it and the mind dissolve back into the infinite. That's what the practice is about. But that Advaita Vedantan kind of jnani path, well, that's been known in other traditions as well. There's in the Christian tradition, there was a famous 5th century monk called Dionysius the Areopagite, and he wrote, and it just sounds like Vedanta. He said, beyond all distinctions between knower and known, the aspirant becomes merged in the nameless, formless reality, wholly absorbed in that which is beyond all things and in nothing else. Having stilled his intellect and mind, he is united by his highest faculty with that which is beyond all knowing. It sounds beautiful. And then the mind goes, so how do I get there? If it's beyond everything I know, beyond all forms, beyond everything, what do I do? And so the divine says, okay, we have these other paths, these other practices that help us get to that state, dissolve into that state, because all leads up to that. But other paths, we can take the steps that get us there. And St. John of the Cross wrote, "In order to overcome our desires and to renounce all those things, our love and inclination for which are want to inflame the will that it delights therein, we will require a more ardent fire, a nobler love, that of the bridegroom. See, if your spiritual nature were not on fire with other and nobler passions, we should never cast off the yoke of the senses." So what St. John of the Cross is talking about is similar to what the yogis talked about, in the sense that that passionate love for the divine in a form, to be the consort, to be the spouse of the divine, to have an image that calls to us, that we are then passionate with devotion, that we become so absorbed in that the feelings for being distracted by the mind, for ephemeral pleasures of the world, is just so diminished in comparison to the conflagration, the light, the passion, the love that arises in connection to the divine. And really, that's what the whole path of bhakti yoga and the path of Namasan Kirtan is about. It's about building that fire and calling on our capacity for devotion, for love, because that marshals our energy. When you think about what the yogis were doing, they were thinking about all the ways they could gather the energies of attention and focus it one-pointedly on the infinite, on the divine. Well, some of those energies are gathered by thinking and contemplating, by thinking and contemplating the exalted Godhead, the infinite. But we're passionate beings. We know love. We know devotion. And very often, when you want to get close to someone or even merge with someone, that's through love. And that's immediate. That's not thinking about it. That's the divine embrace. And so devotional practices and the path of devotion and love is seen as that kind of expression of who we are brought into the stream of yoga, so that it's aimed at yoga as union with our highest nature. And in the Bhagavad Gita, one of the chapters is on the path of love, the path of bhakti yoga. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there are numerous chapters, and some are talking about jnana yoga, sometimes they're talking about karma yoga, like seva, action in the world. But this is the chapter on the way of love, the way of bhakti yoga. And so, this is a short chapter, and so it starts out with Arjuna. And he says, "Of those steadfast devotees who love you, and those who seek you as the eternal formless reality, who are more established in yoga?" So he's kind of going back and forth between love or the jnani, going into the formless. And Sri Krishna, Lord Krishna says, "Those who set their hearts on me and worship me with unfailing devotion and faith are more established in yoga." That unwavering love. When you're in love, you become obsessed with what you're in love with. You have to make an effort to think of your loved one. They occupy your mind over and over. They occupy your heart. They throb through your body. So he's talking about that full-throated love for the infinite and for the divine that establishes us moment by moment in that union with the divine. As for those, Krishna goes on, Lord Krishna, as for those who seek the transcendental reality without name, without form, contemplating the unmanifested beyond the reach of thought and of feeling, with their senses subdued and mind serene, and striving for the good of all beings, they too will verily come to me. So we'll get there. Just love is so quick. You're right there with the divine, right? Yet, Krishna goes on, yet hazardous and slow is the path to the unrevealed, difficult for the physical person to tread. But for they, for whom I am the supreme goal, who do all work renouncing self from me, meditate on me with single-hearted devotion. These I will swiftly rescue from the fragments of cycle of birth and death, for their consciousness has entered into me. Love is the divine. When we enter that love, we're entering the divine right there, right then. So still your mind in me, still your intellect in me, and without doubt you'll be united with me forever. If you cannot still your mind in me, learn to do so through the regular practice of meditation. If you lack the will for self-discipline, engage yourself in my work. For selfless service, so that's the practice of seva, can lead you at least to complete fulfillment. And if you are unable to do even this, then surrender yourself to me, disciplining yourself and renouncing the results of all your actions. So here's Lord Krishna saying, here are different ways. If you can just merge into me, great. Then that's, in the Shaivite tradition, it's anupaya. It's just you merge in. It's the no means. You just merge in. But if you can't do that, then here are these successive steps. So that there's always, and really that's talking about no matter what state we're in, there's a way for us to come home to the infinite, into the loving arms of the divine. Krishna goes on, better indeed is knowledge than mechanical practice. Better than knowledge is meditation, but better still is surrender of attachment to results, because there follows immediate peace. That one I love, who is incapable of ill will, who is friendly and compassionate, living beyond the reach of eye and mind, and of pleasure and pain, patient, contented, self-controlled, firm in faith, with all his heart and all his mind given to me. With such a one, I am in love. In love. The divine is in love. We're in love with the divine in love. We're merged in love. Not agitating the world or by it agitated, he stands above the sway of elation, competition, and fear. Oh, he is my beloved. He is detached, pure, efficient, impartial, never anxious, selfless in all his undertakings. He is my devotee, very dear to me. He is dear to me who runs not after the pleasant or away from the painful, grieves not, lusts not, but lest things come and go as they happen. That devotee who looks upon friend and foe with equal regard, who is not buoyed up by praise nor cast down by blame, alike in heat and cold, pleasure and pain, free from selfish attachments, in shame and honor and dishonor, quiet, ever full, in harmony everywhere, firm in faith. Such a one is dear to me. So those who meditate upon this immortal Dharma, as I have declared it, full of faith and seeking me as the supreme goal, are truly my devotees, and my love for them is great. And that loving connection is what's really cultivated, opened, reveled in, celebrated in chanting the various names of the divine, the infinite, in the practice of Namasan Kirtan. So we're going to be chanting a few of these chants, and we're going to start off with the chant of Om Matakali, Om Mata Durga, Kali Durga Namo Namah. And so it's an invocation of the Divine Mother in her ferocious, loving aspect, right? And this is a picture. This is the Mahakali Yantra is a depiction of Mahakali. But that loving presence, that's what's invoked. And think of the Great Mother, the Divine Mother, in any way that calls to your heart, because that's what then invites you into that loving, immediate presence of her in her gifts of grace. So we'll start with this chant. Om Matakali. Ma Kali. Ma Kali is also Ma Kundalini Shakti. It's Ma Kali, Ma Kundalini, who takes the form of all the letters of the Sanskrit alphabet, who's the basis of all mantras. The Shakti of mantras is Ma Kali Shakti. She is that. Om Matakali, Om Mata Durga, Kali Durga, Namo Namaha. So the stillness at the end of the chant is a way to just like then rest in that divine embrace. The gift of mantra, the gift of Ma, taking us home to that glorious path of the throb of sound, throb of our own self. So now we're going to do a chant that invokes that transcendent one, Shiva. Om Shiva, Om Shiva, Om Mahadev. Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shambho. Om. Om is the primal sound, the primordial mantra. Out of Om comes all the other sounds. And Shiva is the infinite, the auspicious one. Shambho is another name, particularly denoting his peaceful form. So Om Shiva, Om Shiva, Om Mahadev, the great one, the great divine, the great God, Mahadev, Shiva. Om Shiva, Om Shiva, Om Mahadev. Jaya Shiva. Jaya means hail or victory to. Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shambho. Victory over what? Victory over the deluded mind. Victory over the pain that we create for ourselves and others. Shiva, Shakti, freeing us from that we can bring that boundless love, compassion, wisdom, grace that is our true nature into the world. Om Shiva, Om Shiva. Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shambho. Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shambho. Om Shiva, Om Shiva, Om Mahadev. Om Shiva, Om Shiva, Om Mahadev. Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shambho. Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shambho. Om Shiva, Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shiva, Jaya Shambho. Shiva inviting us into the ocean of consciousness that is our very being, that is Shiva. Dissolving into that. We leave the mind, we leave the body, we leave everything behind. Om Shiva, Om Shiva, Om Mahadev. So now we're going to shift back to the daily. Jaya Jagadambe, Jaya Jagadambe, Jaya Jagadambe, Kali Durga, Jai Jai Ma. Jaya again, hail, victory to Jagadambe, goddess of the universe, the whole world. Jagadambe, Jagadambe, Kali Durga, Jai Jai Ma. All the mother. It's all we can see, that's all we can know. The mother. Infinite forms of the one. Jagadambe, Kali Durga, Jai Jai Ma. Jai Kali Durga Jai Jai Ma. Om Matakali, Om Matakali, Om Matakali Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma. Om Matan Durga, Om Matan Durga, Om Matan Durga Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma. Jai Jagadambe, Jai Jagadambe, Jai Jagadambe Kali Durga Jai Jai Ma. Jai Jagadambe, Jai Jagadambe, Jai Jagadambe Kali Durga Jai Jai Ma. Om Matakali, Om Matakali, Om Matakali Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma. Om Matan Durga, Om Matan Durga, Om Matan Durga Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma. Jai Jagadambe, Jai Jagadambe, Jai Jagadambe Kali Durga Jai Jai Ma. Jai Jagadambe, Jai Jagadambe, Jai Jagadambe Kali Durga Jai Jai Ma. Om Matakali, Om Matakali, Om Matakali Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma. Om Matan Durga, Om Matan Durga, Om Matan Durga Jagadambe Jai Jai Ma. Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma. So now we're going to chant the Atara mantra, and then after that we'll just go into the meditation, just to continue to sit in the stillness, in the divine embrace. If the mind moves during meditation, just again wrap it in mantra, wrap it in the divine, Madrupa, my form, mantra, the very form of the divine, the infinite. So this chant is Jai Jai Tarama, Jai Jai Tarama. So Tara, one of the names of the boundlessly compassionate one, Buddha, Tara. Tara is also Kali. So we may think of Kali as sort of the ferocious love of the mother. Tara is that sweet, compassionate, strong, willing to leap forward to help remove the suffering from all beings. So Jai Jai Tarama, Jai Jai Tarama, Jai Jai Tarama. Om Taritam Soha, Om Taritam Soha. Om Taritam Soha is the mantra of red Tara. So a particular form where she is invoked as the power to bring to a seeker all that they need to become free, to be able to live in the world in the fullness of their nature of compassion, love, wisdom, kindness, and boundless joy. Om Taritam Soha. resting in your own sublime nature. The stillness is luminous with love, compassion, wisdom. It sees all as its own self. Every thought, every feeling, everything internal, everything external. For your highest self, they're all one. There is no inside and outside, no other. Just your sublime, loving self, embracing them all. Rest there. Rest in the name that summons that living presence, your divine self. close with a few rounds of the Maha Mantra, the great mantra, Om Namah Shivaya. We end with this prayer, that may all our practices truly benefit everyone, and may all beings know complete freedom from suffering. Namaste. Now, taking refuge in the name. So many names she's given us. We can always find one that works for us. Coming back home to the self, to that sublime throb of the infinite that is mantra, that is chanting. You can do that anytime, any place, at least in our head. So keep coming back to that. Keep coming home to yourself. And mantra, it'll protect you. It protects us throughout the day. Keep taking refuge in that. And the agitation of the mind subsides more and more and more. It doesn't carry us very far away from our true nature. I want to thank you all for coming this evening, and thank you for your commitment to practice. You're coming here to share the power of your practice and the true power of the presence of your sublime nature that you bring here on the Thursday evenings, and that you walk into the world by doing the practices and bringing that love, that wisdom, that clarity, that discrimination so desperately needed in this world, so that we can transform what's been happening in the world. And that's what you do, step by step, breath by breath, heartbeat by heartbeat, day by day. And it is extraordinarily important. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for doing your practices. Thank you for bringing the power of your practices to Thursday evenings to join with us. With all my heart and with all my love, I thank you for that. And I thank everyone for the many ways that you've been supporting Anamkara, through donations, through sharing the e-newsletter, through sharing the Anamkara YouTube channel. And so we'll be back in 2 weeks. Please have a safe and blessed Thanksgiving. This is a great time to practice one of the extraordinarily powerful practices, gratitude, to be grateful for all the many things that we receive. The many ways that the world supports us and uplifts us. We have so much to be grateful for, even in the times of challenge. So this is a fabulous time to really focus on that practice and then bring that into your everyday life. So stay safe, stay healthy, and I look forward to seeing you all in 2 weeks. Namaste.